Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Hi all, thank you for being here. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land that we meet on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to pay respects to their elders past and present and elders that are here with us today. I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that this land that we hold this wonderful gathering on today is and always will be Aboriginal land. I'd also like to acknowledge our Australian South Sea Islander elders, and in particular our patron Aunty Bonita Mabo, our founding elders Aunty Shireen Malamoo, Aunty Gracelyn Smallwood, Aunty Enares, Aunty Harriet Togo. I would like to acknowledge also Aunty Avis Deguara, who joins us all the way from Blacktown today. I would like to thank Inner West Council for making today possible, and in particular Mayor Darcy Byrne, who we honoured to join us here today. My name is Danny Togo. I'm the Vice President of Australian South Sea Islanders Port Jackson. I identify as Aboriginal and South Sea. Aboriginal by way of the Yellow Rock Mission people from Urunga, south of Coffs Harbour, and South Sea by way of Vanuatu, the islands of Ombe, Santo and Tanna. Australian South Sea Islanders Port Jackson is a Sydney-based community organisation led by a self-determined board, which guides our work in lobbying and advocating for, as well as empowering our community, the Australian South Sea Islander community. We are the descendants of those who were stolen the tens of thousands from their communities on 80 Pacific islands from across what are today the nations of Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, New Caledonia, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Tuvalu and Kiribati between the years of 1847 and 1904. And after building the Australian sugar industry, now the world's third largest, as well as pastoral, maritime and other industries, thus laying the foundations of the economies of of Queensland and northern New South Wales, all while toiling under slave conditions, were rewarded for their efforts by being subject to one of the largest mass deportations in history, enabled by the Pacific Labourers Act of 1906. One of the key pieces of legislation passed in the name of the White Australia policy after Federation. Despite strong political lobbying by our organisations at the time, including petitions to the Governor of Queensland, the Governor-General, the Prime Minister of the day, Alfred Deakin, and King Edward VII, approximately 7,500 islanders were ultimately forcibly deported out of Australia. Many called this home for decades. The results were devastating. Children were separated from their parents, husbands from their wives, and families and communities left shattered. The intergenerational trauma from this cruel act of ethnic cleansing is still very much felt in our community today, over a century later. Despite all this, we have survived. Today our community numbers are approximately 70,000. This includes the many of us who have dual heritage and evident kinship with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community through intermarriage, and a shared history of oppression and genocide as Australian South Sea Islanders were forced on the same missions and reserved as First Nations peoples. Our community is not just in Queensland but all over Australia, including right here in the inner west of Sydney, where my great-grandparents, James Tuku and Fanny Tuku, after being taken from their islands of Vanuatu, of Ombe and Santo, moved around, eventually ended up in Queensland, then in Sydney, where they met, married in 1909, lived in Ashfield, in a small South Sea Islander community, where they had 4 children born in Ashfield. Then in 1915, moved to the Tweed, where there was a well-established South Sea Islander community, and from that day on, we are still there. Tomorrow will mark 24 years to the day in 1994 that we achieved recognition by the Commonwealth for the first time under the Keating Labor government. This followed the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission's 1992 report on Australian South Sea Islanders titled The Call for Recognition, and was the result of the hard work and advocacy of Australian South Sea Islander leaders of the past, such as Faith Bandler, AO, Phyllis and Zane Cora, Alan and Mark Togo, to name a few. Since then, we have marked August 25 as a recognition day each year. Commonwealth recognition has since been followed by recognition at state level in New South Wales 1995, and Queensland finally in 2000. However, in the years since, there has unfortunately been little progress in this regard, even following a more recent motion of recognition being passed in New South Wales Parliament in 2014 by Alex Greenwich. In fact, most Australians still remain unaware that this country had a slave trade at all and that the descendants still live here today. We remain to this day very much a forgotten people. I am proud to be part of an organisation, the Australian South Sea Islanders Port Jackson, which now leads a renewed struggle for recognition of our people. We have much work ahead of us. Among other things, we seek a national body, support for services to reconnect our communities here in the Pacific, and programs which will address the ongoing issues which are a legacy of slavery. Today, with the raising of the Australian South Sea Islander flag for the first time here in Sydney, we see a powerful symbol of our continued survival and a sign of genuine respect for our ongoing contributions from this nation, which we have helped to build. We hope this will be the first of many. Thank you, Tomas. Thank you so much for your time.